Christ risen is strong, giver. Are you ready? Time shows the world into shadow. We're going home. No more pain. Jesus, our Savior, washed our sins, and now I am free. Blessed home we find in His glory, Lord God, King of kings, ruler, provider of everything. We're going home. No more pain. Jesus, our Savior, washed our sins, and now I am free. I'm all right. Church, I would like to introduce to you this afternoon will be presenting to us appreciation of sacred music. It is going to be an involved program, so get yourself ready to be part and fully part and participate. I have here with me James Jerry. He actually is the manager of Vocal Harmony. Let us now pray as we begin this part of the program. And I am going to ask Mama Fuchi to pray for us. Morana Jesu. Sika.
Sarvanasko. Maranatha Masala. Kosieza. Okay. Oh, let's go to the remember this is clarity. The satisfaction of the digenda the way you do whatever work we can one of the ways of telling that we are living in the last days is that there is no longer a new song sung. When your experience is not told as a movement, throughout Christendom or the history of Christ, there's always been songs that accompany the experience of the Christians. Now one of two things is happening. The spirituality, number two, we deny the creative power of God in our lives. What David would you sing after the Lord what? A new song, which means there must be fresh experiences in these last days. And when we lack them even in music, it tells a story which something is wrong with our spiritual life. Ibuhlungu le nto ke mangicabanga isuke ngempingqondo yokuthi njengoba isikhathi sele kupheleni, there are a number of things that lose value ezibaluleke nokubaluleka kwazo isikhathi masifuna usihamba. One of them is music. One of them is what? Music, and the power of the music that we sing. What you call Queenwadi 1 Corinthians 14? How many of you can sing something you don't understand? Ukuluma gift of tongues is defending the gift of tongues. How many of you will hear an alarm? Listen, I ignore it because you know that alarm is sounding. There's a warning, something is happening. We don't understand. And unfortunately, we live in a time where Christians no longer hear what they say. Christians no longer hear what they preach. Actions become the opposite of what we say. For instance, led by observation and by hearing no one. If it's a cause when no money, you should know. Now you think? Now you not just when situations are bad, not just when situations are bad, I look begging that mama smiling like smile school. You forget you never sang that song. It's because our Christianity has become cheap outside of the context here in this trial. As a precursor in the Bible, there are two groups of people. One was the Levites who were about to be responsible. The other group of people, because their work was as important as the one of the teacher. Okay, part of them, by the way, they were part of the payroll. The other thing that they were is that they were also Levites. You would never find a musician by believing for a simple reason. You cannot sing what you do not know. So what? You cannot sing what you? Yeah, I get them from there because part of the poison we hear in the churches is that of people expressing things they don't understand. And part of that comes by the very people. Now, this is all of us. I'm speaking to all of us. And it's experience that needs to change over time. Just before we conclude. Go to Martin Luther, the reformer. I would not allow any man to teach or to preach to God's people without an understanding of sacred song. Without a proper understanding of sacred song, you do not know the. That's why again, when you are preparing a program in Sabata, we have the music director who could the social media man. Is how the son and nani to my package that's an example. So because the other danger is that we forever be stuck in the number 144 who's the the number 214, the number 39, when there are other hymns to sing. Part of today's presentation is to tell stories behind some of the hymns that we sing. From there was an experience every time someone penned a hymn. I'll start by eradicating some of the mysteries, the mystifying things as to who's proving what's really Mailana Nekudu. Number one, the hymn book we have here was complete. Last time I knew it's around the early 1800s. One of those people who was tasked with the task, to Effie Bell. Oh, I in China got element. There was what we call hymns and tunes. After hymns and tunes, it became Christing song. After Christing song, Sabakon and the Advent team and so on. So there was a journey. Part of that was that as they sat down to collate the hymns, they looked at all the
amakhulu akhona emhlabeni ehambisana nevangeli esishumayela njengamasana. And then they collated those together to help namhlanje esibiza ukuthi Adventism. 70% yalamakhulu ke esiwakhulayo akuwona ingoma ezabhalwa umasala kodwa ziphethe umlayezo wokusala kusala. Does that make sense?
Yes.
So noma ungakhalela une-30% wena ukhalela. So the rest of it is written by other composers. Does that make sense? So 70% of it is literally Methodists and so on and so on, writers, composers who came together and wrote some of the hymns of Sister. And it's important for us to understand some of these experiences now because it's music day, so we should be singing more than we preach. And then we were given copies. I'm going to title this presentation, This is My Story, This is My Song. This is my story, this is my song. And I want us to go through some of these experiences. I'll start with the first character that's on your right. That is a man by the name of Martin Luther, who was a reformer. Now, the hymn is called A Mighty Fortress is Our God, a bulwark never failing. South Africa of me, in the white churches, you'll find this hymn sung a lot because it also represented the Reformation. The Reformation. So Martin Luther, around 1531, obviously stands in the Diet of Worms, about to stand before a council far greater than any man had ever stood before. That means veterans of Bulala for standing for the truth. As he was riding on the horse with his friends were telling him, Martin Luther, those people are going to assassinate and kill you. Turn back if you may. I have not come this far to repel my faith. Therefore, I'm going forward in God's name. Martin Luther, and as they were riding along, his friends were worried, but he was not. And to prove that he was not worried, he begins to pen the words, a mighty fortress is our God, a bulwark never failing. He writes those words, and it became a song that predominantly described what the Reformation stood for. Whichever say figure in the Diet of Worms, councils and men stood forward, messengers from the Pope, yearning for his blood. And my son there, I will down an old knight, Kesselgal, young man, you are about to make a stand for greater than any man has ever done in life. If thou art sure of thy cause, then forward in God's name. He stood in front and he was asked if he would recant the 95 pieces he had written. And he told them, how can I do this? I will not and I cannot recant. So help me God. And nothing happened to him because it's good. Because of an experience. Are we walking together? A mighty fortress is our God. A bulwark never failing. Our helper here amid the flood of mortal ills prevailing. Just speak nothing down, that did to wake us all. Let's go. 1, 2, 3. A mighty fortress is our God, a bulwark never failing. Our helper here in the flood of mortals is prevailing. For still our ancient foe doth seek to wreck us woe. His crowned and power great, and none with cruel hate. On earth is not his equal. Without listening to the truth. What did we in our own strength confide? Our striving would produce. What if ever in this Christian walk we depended upon our own strength, our struggle would be losing. What if we're not the right man on our side, the hands of God's choosing? Don't ask who that man may be, Christ Jesus, it is he. Lord Sabaoth is his name from age to age, the same, and he, only he must win the battle. Good job, Basam. The next person you find, which Palisa is going to help us sing the song, there's a mic for you, is a man by the name of Thomas A. Dorsey. He writes the song, Precious God, Take My Hand. Lead me on, let me stand. I am weak and I am worn. He was a jazz artist for most of his life. Eventually, once you meet Christ, you're more the same. Changes from being a jazz artist, he decides to write gospel music. One time around, it is 1900, I'm forgetting the year. His wife is pregnant, highly pregnant, on the 9th month of a pregnancy. And as a contact of so they're asking him to perform. But it was trying at the 9th month of a pregnancy. The wife then said to him, man, you better go and bless people. How can I leave you in your but just go. Is far greater than what I'm doing. He decides to leave. As he sang the last song, a concertine about to play the last tune after asking him to repeat. A young man kept scrolling for a crawler right behind him and gave him and slipped a note by his side. They said, "Pray." There were short words and distinct. Your wife has just passed away giving life. In his despair, he goes back to my finger. The doctor tells him, "Hey, I'm sorry to tell you, your wife really died while giving birth." And he was in tears. As he stood, the doctor could not pronounce the next couple of words. But while we were trying to save your wife, your son also passed away. At that very moment, with nothing else to hang on to, full of despair, nothing else to do, he told himself, because how could the Lord have done this to me? Days went by, weeks went by. Then a good friend of him, there was only one thing that can bring comfort to Thomas A. Dorsey. There was an old school by the wayside. There was an old piano. There was a chair. He sat down. As he began to sit down, nothing else came to his mind. But as he began to play, these words started to come out of his mind. Precious Lord, take my hand. Lead me on. Let me stand. I am weak. I am worn. I am torn. Through the storm, through the night. Lead me on. Let me stand. Take my hand. Precious Lord, lead me on. Precious Lord, take my hand. Lead me on. Let me stand. I am tired. I am worn. Through the storms, through the night, lead me on to the light. Take my hand, precious Lord, and lead me on. Again, let's join together. Precious Lord, take my hand, lead me on, let me stand. I am tired, I am weak, I am worn. Through the storms, through the night, lead me on to the light. Take my precious Lord, When you have the experience, the song changes. Abide with me. Fast falls the evening tide. Written by the name Henry Francis Knight. In 1844, he conquered tuberculosis. Now at that time, the medicinalists police operated dying from TB in his last parishioner, in his last sermon, in 1844, he preaches his last sermon and then retires home. Because the conditions were wet, he moves to the end of Italy, about to finish the last of his days there. Across the beach, realizing that his end was near. Ati abide with me. Fast falls the evening tide. Ati might be the darkness deepens. Lord, with me to what? Abide. Left them on the dressing table along his side, and died the following Sunday. The next week was his funeral. That song was then put into music and then sung on his funeral day. I'm trying to still sing that song. Of a man about to die on his deathbed, realizing that there was no one else to abide with him except the Lord. Let's sing it together. Please. Something. Next character is a man by the name of Charles Wesley. He's the brother to John Wesley, founder of the Methodist Church. In fact, the history around the Methodist Church is that both brothers are actually founders of the church. I was actually once asked to present the history to Methodists. It was interesting, much inspired after that. But anyway, Charles Wesley, with his brother, becoming preachers, started during a time of fierce reformation. At one time, they were preaching the message, those who are listening, because the truth does not leave you the same. It pricks you with his Malik Saba, so those who were listening became an angry mob and started running after him. He writes the song, Jesus, lover of my soul. What please hide me, they are about to kill me. Then he said, go out there. And as you go out the house, behind the house, there is a cleft. Hide underneath. Hide underneath the what? The cleft. Hide yourself. He started in the bar, but realizing the voice of those who were chasing after him, he then went straight into the cleft and hid underneath. As he stood there at the moment of his death, he also begins to pen the words, Jesus, lover of my soul. Let me to thy bosom side. Because at that point. While near another's waters all, while the tempest is still high, hide me. Oh, my Savior, hide. Till the storm of life is past. Safe into thy heaven, guide, go seek my soul. By the way, those of you who studied Adventist history will also know this was Ellen White's favorite song. Let me tell you why. Because when the tempest came, no, everyone hates your guts. That's why they knew that was failing. Eventually, when she lost her husband, times became harder. But there was no one by her bedside to keep her calm. Utu Ellen Robertson, who's Ellen White's eldest granddaughter, sometimes when she'd be sleeping, is in the middle of the and when she was in tears, she would come down the stairs and go breakfast. Did you hear? Did you hear what? But did you hear the angel choir sing last night? No one could understand what she was talking about, but eventually they began to understand. When times became tough, God will send a small angel choir by her bedside to sing her as she slept. God honored her prophet. But when times became even much harder, Christ himself will sit by her bedside while she was going through the emotions. That's why this was a favorite song. Jesus, lover of my soul. So, Jesus, lover of my soul. Let me to Amen. The next is a song written just as I am, without one plea. General Bala was listed by the name of Charlotte Elliott, born in 1789 and dies in 1871. This is a short story, simple and brief. She was an alcoholic, is neglecting all these dramatical things. By the way, when you are a musician, you must understand what I'm going to say right now. There's nothing in why Satan in the wrong way when he sees people stand in a position where he should have been at the chief position in heaven. That's why one of the greatest, if there's one thing the church needs to do, which they've been doing wrong, is to try and keep these people close. And what he does, he creates insinuation and suspicions, and they begin to question the church for some strange reason or another, because they may not be fully acquainted. They're cultivating themselves, trying to present what they think is righteousness, but then the church pushes them away. They will present these things because they know. That's why. But the song reaches the heart far greater than any sermon can do. And therefore he knows that these people are also a threat. And their lives of Christianhood cannot be measured because they don't even know who they sing about. And they become alcoholics. They become all these things because they feel a distance from Christ caused by something. And because they don't understand what church is. And that's the truth. Most of them don't understand what church is. To them, music is church. To them, the ones they see is church. And they need to be brought closer ultimately so that they begin to understand that the calling is far greater than the song. It's far greater than the song. And once they understand that, it becomes complete. That's why the majority of them start to leave the church in later years. They become alcoholics. Because that's his quest, to destroy them, because he knows he should have been in this position. Anyway, that's a side note. Just as I am, figure out alcoholic, she is drinking away. Old man from nowhere. Pets on the shoulder. Could see my pet on the shoulder. With a lot. This is at her age, she was around 49. An old man pets on the when are you going to give yourself to Christ? Then he rushes out the door. She became so annoyed. Because that question bothered her. She couldn't hold it anymore. While she found the man who said, tell me what I must do. Which you know that my pendula, you don't need to do anything, just go as you are. Just go as you are. She wrote that song for the next number of years. She became one of the key lyricists and key hymnologists in the church. That's why we sing some of the songs. Was the girl goes in that following week. Am I able to be so leave that till we get a sign? That sign was enough. She got told, just come as you are. Many of us have been told lies. Change. You are perfect. Full figure. It's unjalo because you have no guarantee you cleaning yourself well. So come as you are. Please sing that song. Just as I am, Those of you who are composers and arrangers who like the next character, F.E. Belden, Chanaman, Helen White. More big to roll out, the number is number 158 in Australia. This man had a unique gift. As the preacher was preaching, as the preacher was preaching, as the preacher is preaching. Right after the sermon is preached, that song will be ready to be sung by the congregation. So number 158 is one of those examples of unique gifts. F.E. Belden was behind many of the hymns we sing today, but he also Illinois. Unfortunately, over time, he also left the church. Let us he also left the church, but he writes one of those songs on 158. When I sing that song, as you sing it, think of it. During the sermon, it was ready after the sermon. One thing I forgot to explain, in your hymn books, you want to find the name on the hymn. It's because the author is not the one that's written on some of the hymns, it's the people that have put the music to the words that are put there. Does that make sense? Okay, fine. Next character is a man by the name of J. Kirkpatrick, who writing, Lord, I'm coming. Gieza Ekai. That's the song. Number 100, number 56. They were part of a praise team. Now, one of us talking about crusade. We have a praise team. J. Kirkpatrick is one of those people who are part of the hymn choristers. One thing he began to realize is that once he was singing, he's just here to sing, and then he does what? He disappears. Now, when you get to the experience, but J. Patrick went back home on his knees and said, Lord, I entreat thee. This young man cannot live this life. Therefore, I ask wisdom from you to keep him in the presence of the congregation. Guess what the Lord does? When people uses humble instruments and human beings like just one of us. You are the angel, an instrument that God uses to win souls. So anyway, after praying, God gives him a song. He begins to write the song. And he's then God gives this man wisdom, J. Kirkpatrick. On the next day, he says to this young man, go practice the song. We want you to help us read it out tomorrow in the crusade. Goes back home, comes back, performs the song. As he performs, tears begin to roll down his eyes. That young man never left the congregation again. Instead, became a baptized member of the church. It only takes one person on their knees to plead on your behalf for you to be found. But someone decided to go to their own corner to pray for us. I said that this song has become a favorite Uma altar chorus. We sing it today because of the experience. Let's sing it together. Number 56. The last and final character we're going to talk about is a lady by the name of Fanny Crosby. Ubalai Oma Etiana all the way my Savior later. The reason because of the nature of the story. She was blind from 6 weeks old, never saw the light of day. In a lounge, all she needed was 6 pence and 2 shillings. With no one else to call upon, she went on her knees and prayed, Lord, I need that, and that. 30 minutes later, there was a knock on the door. Someone came in with the exact amount of money she needed. You're guilty. One thing because I wanted to be surprised. One day she was asked if you were given an opportunity, to have your sight again, would you take it? It seemed intended by the blessed providence of God that I should be blind all my life. And I thank you for that dispensation. If perfect every sight were granted me tomorrow, I would not accept it. I might not have sung the hymns of praise to our God if I had been distracted by the beautiful and interesting things about me. When are you able? And she was not. But you have nothing to bring on the table. And she has written over 200 hymns, 1,000 in some instances. She's one of the prolific hymnology sisters in the Christian era. All the way, my Savior leads me. I guess number is it 162? Yes, number 162. Long period. Don't get one, two, three. Hey, this is my story. This is my story. When you don't have an experience, you have no reason to sing. What's your experience? All of us here have an experience to share. All of us have a song that we must sing when we go through those situations. When days are dark, there's always a hymn. That hymn must carry you until Jesus comes back. There's an old man in Mazi who was very poor, Shona, 2 years ago, Shoni and the rest would know. That man would not listen to Adventist preachers preach. And he down the street, he could not hold himself. He went in, from that day on, he never left the congregation. And I decided never again to be. Became a deacon, became an elder in the church. This too can happen to you. But the problem is, Tina Salopa. Most of us kumale first. And the problem with verse 3 is that none of us have a salvation experience. As far as we could have what we have because may the Lord help us as we have the song and we keep the songs in our hearts. Amen. Such a good time because we want to sing. 2 questions and then we go into our exercise. Yes.
I had to do questions in those. I'm just going to Ingo, says, I don't know, I see the sweet now. Experience.
Yes.
The what is cut
Yes.
Oh, my food.
Yes.
You are that was
Yes. Ephesians 5. It's your way down and sleepest and arise from the dead. See that you walk circumspectly because the days are what? Evil. This is what the say. And these songs will carry us. During the time of trouble, we will live without an intercessor. You will pray. And during that time, the faith you have cultivated before that time is the one that will carry you during that time. So it's preparation time. Confined in our spaces. It's training ground for what is about to take place. Say, oh, is your head not up? Yes, Bob.
Yes. I wanted to ask, like, what is going to happen, like, when comes a time when and then Tolukuchi singing will be the one thing that will get us caught.
Yeah.
What do you do?
So the last thing on my mind during the time of trouble is getting caught. The one thing that will be on my mind is maintaining my faith during that time until he comes again. And I'm coming through the lives, but the mailing in that is root. I want to let them call us now. Le masifika la sibuya njengoba mkhulu wakhe wasifaka namachukisi ile oyidinga ngosekhaya manje exist ekhaya you would fail during the time. So cultivate a righteous life now. It will guarantee a life. It will guarantee you through the time of trouble. I'll tell you a story, a simple one. There's a man by the name of Polycarp during the 1st century. Then he, Bembambile, for the sake of his faith, about to be burnt at the stake, about to be burnt, was an old man at the age of 89. But hey, will you recant your faith? Listen here. 89 years have I served my Lord, and not once has he done me wrong. How then shall I blaspheme my king? Bring on the faith. and they went to make a mistake. So when I sing, others were singing. As they were bent, now good when the popes were entering through a city because we always had some persecution. Let bonfires and celebrate they would hang poles and pitch them with pitch. Put on a crest there and tie them up, and then burn them so that they became a guard of honor for the Pope as he was king. And some of them, as they were burnt there, they would sing songs until they died. Stefan, typical example. Songs of Zion will carry us through this time. Mama, I saw that I'm 10-2 verses, yeah, good exercise. I'm a paper secretary, Pale soprano, 10, Pale bass, Pale Nanjan, stand up. Mama.
Bengithanda ukubonga inkulumo oyishilo ngale last person okhulume ngayo ukuthi ekugcineni abanye bazofakwa umculo enkundleni. I think myself ngingene ngomculo ekhaya. Nginama-Bible studies angangiwenza nabashumayeli nabafundisi. Kodwa ngiyabezwa ukuthi bathi really angihamba manje. There comes one time makuthiwa kuzobe kukhona music day in the church.
Yes.
Then they invite me. Okay, since we're cinema Bible study with you, can you come to our church, cinema music day? That first song that Okulume ngayo, Precious Lord, that is the song that kept me up to today. Ngahlala ngathi mangingena ngathola kune-quartet mixed quartet yabo baba bayithu nabo ngama-sisters nama-brothers khonalapho. Ngangena ngalahlala phansi ngalalela yonke into eyenziwa laphayana. I didn't see anything engcono. Azange ngibala ngingabezwa ukuthi bethi ngithi into abangicasulelayo labantu bale nkonzo, they are too smart. Uma umuntu ongaziwayo, they don't take you as notice ukuthi ulo muntu noma kanjani. And they read so many verses ogcina ungasazi nokuthi bebethi. Then ngezwe ukuthi yes bayangicasula and angikhoni kwafika isikhathi somculo like this one. Ama-groups ayazana ukuza wawo bacula ngiyabayaza. There comes Brother Ngaloshe wase-Randfontein. Brother Ngaloshe, his wife and his ube wakhe nomfazi wakhe bacula laphaya. Ngalalela ngithi hey, ngathi hayi asephumile lasekhaya ngahlala umculo ushumayela ngaphezu kwayo yonke into. Ukhona umuntu ongayizwi ijumayela, ukhona umuntu oyizwa umculo.
Yes.
Ngazwa umculo ngazange ngiphinde ngihambe bathi ekhaya bethi naku ngathi you stop. Amen.
I'm okay, takes Monday. My friend then there's a color label was a that. There's a game of it. Sabbath school for next. But the other way, my team that when my office did it, the next. Mostly that's what it. I'm not aware of that. So those who studied psychology will tell you it reaches your subconscious mind without your permission. That's how powerful it is. One of the greatest things you can do to your child's intellect is to expose them to classical music once they are studying new stuff. We are singing, mother, it does something to the brain. Music, it does something. We can talk about music in its essence. The universe, in its expense, is designed in a musical scale. It's designed in a musical scale. In Mfunda, 2 weeks ago, there was something on the news. They could pick up music, but the words would develop to music. But it's found in the universe. God does that. We can talk about that resolution. So look, one was around Abakula soprano. Abakula soprano. Soprano, Stella is abakhona abogogo abakhona siyabonga. Mawuthula isoprano ngicela uze la. Gogo mawuthula i-alto ngicela uhlale ngapha. Asiphakame njengama-pathfinder discipline. I-tenor ngicela ize ngapha. I-bass bese iza ngapha. Asiyeni bazalwane. Asiyeni bazalwane. Umuntu ophathe iculo igama lengoma lithi Christ on the cross. Singapho song. Tenor in the tenor. If baraton is for Sana, baraton no tenor. Now, from Mutoshala, one. All bass, never please. If you sing bass, you are there the best. Yeah. Sony, no, can you assist the bass there? Tenor. Oh, now, it's unsure. Alto, you go call it alto. I alto, thank you, Mikona. Soprano, Palis and Kona. And Kona Palis off. Okay. Yes. We're gonna use the key A flat as a button noise, but we're gonna use A flat for the second song. So we're gonna see. Right, Bana? Okay, quickly. Every song is an experience. There's a song we hit somebody, but not just control. I lost my grandmother. I had nothing else to hold on to because the whole mama was on prison. And I remember sitting in front of the mirror and thinking about a song, the song I thought about just control. Christ on the Cross was a contribution to a hymns project we want to do. Me and a couple of friends, some from Giltown, have a mission to extend the hymn book from number 300 to onwards with South African composers who are into hymnology to extend. It's one of the projects we're busy doing, and that's one of the submissions around there. So that's one of the songs we're going to sing together, Christ on the Cross. So we'll start with soprano. So not in us, three-part measure. 1, 2, 3, go. Yeah? Good do. Don't be flat. You mean that foot? That's a reference. I don't want to be reference. Así me la ponen. Again, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2. Again. One, two, three, so we're like, One, two, three, base one. Okay, once again, one more time. 1, 2, 3, 1, Okay, now I want volume. Someone acquire volume. 1, 2, 3, up, top. You know, tell you. Okay. 1, 2, 3, 4. There are no people there. I think it's fine in my room. It's fine. Okay. 1 more time, notes 1, 2, 3, 4. Who that knows the power, who knows the destiny? That does not represent it. One more time, we will see come in. 1, 2, 3, 4. Yes. Yes. Okay. Okay, let's go from top. 2, 3, 4, 5. Also, one more time. 2, 3, 4, 5. Let's Burning, burning. Again, 1, 2, 3, 1. Christ on the cross, my glorious God, on I know you never to die on the rugged cross, Jesus on then you move it. Oh, that's good. I'm always waiting. Now we go to the notes. 1, 2, 3, 1. Christ, oh, glorious, my glorious God. I know in heaven to God, on the rugged cross, Jesus so I can ask. So I best and pick up and give upon His throne. Transform me down once Amen. Next time I see some. Thank you very much. Music is a universal language. It's a heavenly language. The answer has spoken. We are one thing music group under the help of music. May God bless us and keep us in Christ. Amen. Ask the groups to come forward and present 2 songs each. Tell us God has accompanied this group. Tudo você está escrevendo isso para o na exito. Esse logo é vocês represent all matter. Today we can sing songs as simple as we are, but they translate to experiences of salvation to those who hear. This is again our ways to do so. We will also not be found wanting in not enter the promised land because we did it, but we were not it. And as we do so, help us in Christ's name. Amen.
Ngithathe ithuba nami ngibingelele ibandla ngegama elihle likaJesu Kristu. Amen. Singaphakama siyenza. Bakwethu sizibuze sithanda ukubonga ilanga esikoleni ilanga lesibusiso kuSabatha. Njengoba sesifike emaphethweni ngosuku lesi-7 sicela ukuthi uhlanganise ulungise inhliziyo zethu ukuze sikwazi ukwamukela amazwi azathi ahlale phezu kwethu manje. Ngoba kuzula abantwana Nkosi, kodwa ngaphezu konke sisize ukuthi amagama ethu sothi ubhale incwadi ngoba siyacela ngomhlaba kaJesu Kristu. Uma ngilungisa izwi esizohlala ngalo, ngilungise ngesiNgisi, ngithembe ngakhululeka. We're going to the book of Hebrews 11 and we will be reading verse 30. Hebrews 11 verse 30. It says, by faith, the walls of Jericho fell down after they were compassed about 7 days. Hebrews 11 verse 30. By faith, the walls of Jericho fell down after they were compassed about 7 days. I think I'm glad Jesse was to see where I with stories and learning a lot about the importance of music. Now, one of the things about music is, especially the last part we just said now, where different parts, different voices are able to come together and bring about wonderful harmony. Even now, the message which we'll be bringing is sort of a continuation of what we'll be talking about, I think, the whole day. The theme, Melanie, check. After all these things, I want to share this story. Some of you might know it, some of you might not. about a particular university. Now, after the abolition of slavery, and black people were being reincorporated into society. So remember, during slavery, black people were just property. They were not seen as people. And so when the issue of slavery was abolished and black people started having rights, and they could now start to buy land, they could now be able to vote, and they were incorporated into society. One of the things that happened then is they also start to build their own institution. Now, one of the things that happened is there's a black university then that is built around this time. The name of the university is called the Fisk University, Samson. Now, with this university, as this is like the first generation of freed black people who are now being educated at a time where black people are told that even intellectually, they are not the equals of white people. And so here they are starting to be trained to show that now as we are free and we're incorporated into society, now let us train our own to show that we can match the world and we've got brains that can think. So the university is built and the university is running, but after some time, they start to run into some financial difficulties. And so when they have these financial difficulties, it means that they can't fully operate. And so the board of the school comes together and they think of a plan on how they can try and sustain the school to be operational. The plan that they think of is, let's start a choir. And we will take this choir and it will tour. As it tours, it will then make revenue for us to be able to continue running the university. Now, the name of the choir is then called Fisk Jubilee. Fisk, the name of the university. Jubilee, coming from the year of Jubilee, which we find in the Bible. In the year of Jubilee, as we know and remember, it is the year where slaves were set free, the year where debts were written off. This is the time where brothers and sisters who have been separated because of the various things that have happened, even slavery, are now able to come together. And so they choose this name because it resembles their current situation as newly freed black people who are slaves, and now they're able to have their own university. And one of the things that characterizes this choir, and if you've got time, Google them, Fisk Jubilee, is that they start to sing songs which were not necessarily sung in public, but songs which were known by black people, songs which were sang, as you would say, underground, songs which they only sang to each other, right? These songs are songs that we know as Negro spirituals. So this became the choir that commercialized Negro spiritual songs. So it was the first time that white people started hearing these songs sung in big platforms. Now, in the beginning, there was some resistance because, as you know, these people thought that you are exploiting the songs which we used during the times of our struggles, and now you're commercializing. But at those times, these songs were relevant. These were songs, our dear my Lord, deliver Daniel. Swing low, sweet chariot. Go down, Moses. Way down to Egypt land. Tell old Pharaoh to let my people go. This is the choir that started commercializing these songs. And they started to tour the world singing these songs. Now, one of the tours, which I'm interested in, which was in 1891, when they come to South Africa. The aim was for them to sing only for 1 year. But as we know, even with the children of the Vut, when you come to South Africa, it becomes very difficult to live. So they were here for about 3 years, having this particular, having a concert which they were singing. Now, what makes this a very important touch point is that, as you can remember then, or as you would have read, because most of us probably not around back then, The country was a very different place. Our great-grandparents were still colonized. And so this became a remarkable moment because here are Black people coming from America. So you start to see people who look like you. And they are singing a language which you don't know. When I was a kid, you start watching these American movies and you're not used to it. So these ones, they were in the cave. And when they would speak to these guys, and they found out, so why are you guys singing? What's happening? And they told them that we are raising funds for our own university. This became something that inspired the guys even this time to say, well, as Black people, we were told that we are nothing and we can't do things. Schools initially were run by missionaries at that time. And so here are Black people who own their own school. And so this was an inspirational moment to them to say, wow, here are Black people who actually own a school. And so what happened is then they motivated a group of young singers also. They also then called themselves the African Jubilee. One of the members of that choir was a 17-year-old lady by the name of Charlotte, right? Her surname was Uman. Later on, she gets married, she becomes Charlotte Mackay. The short story here is, as they have this touch point, this choir from America meeting South Africans, and they also start their own choir to go and collect funds so they can start a college this side. We know, and those who are familiar with the story of Charlotte Mackay, is that then she goes on, gets a degree. She becomes the first Black female to have a PhD. She comes back, she's able to start educational tours. She's one of the people that leads the issues of liberation. But the story that I'm trying to drive home here is that it is through music that you find a school trying to raise funds. It is through music that they come to this country. Through music that we find people being inspired to go out, educate themselves, come back and re-inspire the people in their own country. There's another documentary that speaks about revolution in 4-part Harmony. And this speaks about how music played a great role in inspiring and fueling the resistance of Black people throughout apartheid. That we know that even in that time, it was illegal for Black people to gather in numbers. So music was a very strategic thing to do. If you wanted to have a message that you can throw to the masses, to give them what the mandate is. And so songs were created in order for them to be able to protest, but also to be able to speak about certain things. Now, when there was the first removal of people in Johannesburg, in places like also Firetown, and they were sent to small houses in Soweto. This is when they would write songs like Omindolet. And what was beautiful about those particular songs that the song had a swing to it, which did not necessarily match the message. And the reason they made it a song which is nothing on my own child is so that Amapoisa and whoever would be listening and seeing, they would see them, much they are celebrating, but because they didn't understand the words behind the song, then they wouldn't necessarily ban the song. And this is how music was used to kind of transform and fuel the resistance even amongst our people. When they were singing about Istimel and the exploitation of Black people, would be working for 16 hours and not necessarily getting remuneration. And all these messages were hidden in songs to be able to inspire people to be able to fight. Right? To the point where we even get Nkosi Sigelela iAfrika. Now, all of these things are songs that assist our people in the times when the situation is not what they want it to be. The verse which we spoke about that speaks about the walls of Jericho. If we go to the Bible, we remember that when the children of Israel were leaving Egypt, and they were confronted with the Red Sea. And there were mountains on either side, and Pharaoh's army was behind them. And God was able to open up the Red Sea for them. And they went to the other side. We are told that then they sang a song that said, the horse and the rider has been defeated in the sea. And when they continued on with their journey, and they got to this place called Jericho, we are told that once every day they would walk around the city. And on the seventh day, they walked around 7 times. And on the 7th time, they hit the trumpets and the walls came tumbling down. Go with me to the plain of Dura, where we find Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. That they were told that when you hear all sounds being played, this is the time where you will kneel and worship the golden calves. It is through that place where music was being played, where character was tested, and they were able to stand and say, we will not bow down to your golden image. When you get to the New Testament and you hear about Paul and Silas, and you find them in prison, and you hear that they started to sing throughout the night, that their current situation, the external situation and the internal situation through music started to begin to match. That while they were enslaved and chained on the outside, yet in the inside they were free. And the music about their freedom inside was able then to match what was happening on the outside. And through music, the walls and the doors of the prison were able to be opened. Then we are told in the upper room that when Jesus had washed the feet of his disciples, when he had even washed the feet of Judas, that when they had had the Last Supper, they sang a song and went to the Mount of Olives. And there Jesus would be taken and arrested, and later he would be crucified. But in the end, we are told that when the Son of Man shall return, and we are taken up to heaven, there will be the question that is asked. And the question is, who are these? And the answer will say, these are they that have been through great tribulation. There will be our time to sing the song about the struggles that we have been through. There we'll be able to articulate all the issues of COVID, the people that we have lost, the issues that we had to face. Now will be the time for us to give angels an experience which they have never had. As we were told about the issue of song, that for every occasion there is a song. When we go and bury our loved ones, we sing a song. When people get married, we sing a song. And whatever situation we find ourselves in, there is always a song.
And you don't have to go through this on your own. You're not alone. You have more friends than you know. Some will surround you, some you are destined to be. You'll have more love in your life. Don't get kind. Take it slow. Those who love you love only. More time to grow. Gonna be okay. That you be brave and be strong. You You don't have to go through this on your own. You're not alone. You have more friends than you know. Some will surround you, some you are destined to be. You have more love in your life. Don't get cool. Love you the only. More time to grow. Gonna be okay. Birthday, you know. Be who you are. Learn to forgive. And it's not about who you love, but how you live. You have more friends than you know. Some will come around you, some you are dead. You have more than your life. Yes, more time to grow. Don't be worried, it's gonna be okay. Friends and you. Listen, Ibanda. We were so blessed, Ibanda. Ukuhlabelela kuyamthokozisa odabukile. Athi lapho apha, keep a song in your heart the whole of this week. Whatever challenges that will be faced. Ngengoma yonke into yakho. We want to say thank you so much, Vocal Harmony. We want to thank you so much, children, for blessing us. After today it was a revival through music. It was a revival through music. Bazalwane, kabantwana bethu aba. And badinga into yobathina, this is support their music. We need to support their music. Ebesilo presenter wethu brother Mtholi. Indlela abantwana bethu abakwaziyo ukuthi bashumayele ngayo ngalo umculo wabo. Ayingabo bonke abantu abanala talent yokushumayela. Kodwa ngalo mculo indlela nabo abashumana ngayo. So masithi support umculo wabo. One, I'm told about Basmani to YouTube. That is one of YouTube, and it shows them Banayo CD. Banayo CD. Anything I think Kuma Apatiwa CD, Fumane CD from each other, because the Evangeli Malia and the Gengoma, Evangeli Malia and the Gengo. Vocal Harmony CD at Nayo. Yes, I CD. It's available online. It's CD, I'm told it's available online at Vocal Harmony. Online. It's called Okay, now what's that? For Vocal Harmony online, it's called the Hymns Volume 1. Tell us Betnana. That's okay. Into the you okay. Into the you Thank you so much, and thank you so much. Next time, we will be that. We will to the fire, but then I will be able to Hello, very much for being your own. Let me go see I'm young west, but I will see about this is one our praise day, our Thanksgiving day. We want to say thank you so much. Oh, God, Sabbath, Abea, Sam, they would do me Sagoma, Ibana, Bosiamo, Ibana, Bosbana, Makaya Abo, Ubanta, Bosiamo, Hamas, Abo, Bosiamo, Uban Israel, and Bosi. Then the show Bahama, Hamas, about 7 Sayo, about 7 pair of Bosi, and the West Lava, what a good number in California. Ibana, Ibana, Bosiamo, some 6 men sort of was it, if they go to eat in Jado, who's going to Umoya wengqondo masikhokele ngalo lonke ixesha ithi nantoni na esiyenzayo masikhumbule Nkosi Shaka wena ukhona ngalo lonke ixesha. Kuko konke Nkosi siyanikezela kuwe ngegama elihle likaKristu nokusindiswa wethu. Amen. I'm told zikhona ingoma ezokubhabhayisa. Both groups bazasinika ingoma 1-1 ezokubhabhayisa. Enkosi kakhulu, stay blessed.
Simple. That's faith. High school. Okay. Next. What am I saying again? What place? Do we survive in Goyama? Yes, when Gumeri Mangi, Ibabe. Well, we're going to be again. 1, 2, 3. Do we survive in Goyama? Yes, when Gumeri Mangi. To be such, I can go Yama, yes, when very lucky. To be such, I can go Yama, yes, when very lucky. To be such, I can go Yama, yes, when very lucky. Kuna nini basic? Let's go. Maybe alto. Maybe alto. All 4 parts. Let's go.
Amen.